morning, friends.
Good morning.
Good to see you all here this morning, and we have a variety of colors and smiles, and it's wonderful. What a wonderful way to start our new week. I'd like to talk to you this morning about something that you've heard a lot about before, and that is natural law. And I love that Reverend Leslie's invocation this morning talked about the wisdom of the ages, because that's truly what I'm going to talk with you about this morning as well. Natural law, or God's laws, are something that we as spiritualists start hearing about the first time we come into our churches. Now, this is not unique to spiritualism, of course, because as far back as the Bible, there are certain passages that people still use today freely in everyday conversations. But I'd like to start off first with some questions from The River of Life, the Reverend Marilyn Autry's book. And one question is, do you feel that life is just too tough? Sometimes. Are things backfiring? Sometimes. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Well, she says if you've answered any of these, and she had others too, it's clear that you're just doing what comes naturally, and that is we're not thinking about the fact that our thoughts are producing everything that is coming to us in life. Thoughts are things. Now, what I think is really swell is that spiritualists have known that for years. Many others have known that for years. But we're truly now getting in that age of Aquarius where science is proving what we've known all along. Isn't that great? Now, the Bible talks about you're going to reap what you sow. We all are. And that's, of course, absolutely true, because that follows with the natural law of compensation. That's very positive, isn't it? Very positive thought. Well, sometimes in business situations you hear, yeah, well, what goes around comes around. And that's true. That would be the natural law, God's law of retribution. And that doesn't sound quite so positive, does it? But we know we have choice. Absolutely. Thoughts are things. Now, we say that all the time. We say that all the time, and we stress how important it is to be positive. And I've done a little bit of research, and it's just absolutely wonderful that, science gets it now. And science has so much more capability to explore the human species. Once upon a time, to learn anything about our physical body and how it works and how it reacts, people had to be dead first. And then obviously, because that piece of flesh there is no longer filled with life, obviously what could be learned was very limited. But now they just have all these miraculous, if I can use that word, machinery to do all kinds of tests, to examine the intricacies of the human body, while the human body is very much here in the physical. The spirit is still inhabiting that wonderful human body. And now they can do all kinds of tests while a person is absolutely aware. And they can see how the human brain works. This is wonderful because it's confirming so much that we have known for years. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. If we want something positive in our life, it's extremely important that we think positive. And if we don't, then we're thinking negative. I mean, if you're alive, your mind's going to do something, and you're going to bring that back to you. And people don't want to hear that, you know? And face it, we are human. We are human. We fall into patterns. If we're not feeling well, or if something unexpected occurs, most people don't automatically think, oh, I didn't know where this was coming from, but I know it's great. Sometimes when something unexpected occurs, our first inclination is fear, or worry, or concern. I don't know why we do that. I guess because we're human. Maybe some part of us is still going back to the caveman days where most everything did happen. It wasn't very positive. So we can't help that we automatically do that, but we do need to be aware that we're doing that and then turn it around. We can't always turn it around exactly the same way. If you find something has occurred to you and you know it's not positive, well, it's hard to mentally try to play games with yourself and make it something positive if it truly wasn't. So what do you do then? Well, then you may have to jump to another subject mentally. And you may have to think of something else in your life that is wonderful, that is positive. Because without even realizing it, our magnificent body is busy, busy, busy all the time. Without even being aware of it. We set off these chain reactions. So the minute you have a thought, modern science has proven you are setting off a combination of chemicals in your body that, like everything else in life, is going to go outward and expand and multiply. We hear about endorphins and that they bring us this feeling of pleasure. Endorphins are good. We hear about dopamine, that it can reduce pain within the body. This is something chemically going on in the body, and it can help the body say, wait a minute, don't like this. We're going to release a little more of this chemical, and it's going to help. It's going to help. And then we have serotonin. Well, we all know that that helps a lot with sleep. We know that it also can affect our hunger. And is it any surprise, it can also affect our irritability, because I don't know about you, but if I'm hungry or sleepy, I'm pretty cranky too. These are all things, positive things, not out there in la-la land. These are chemicals and reactions in our brain, our physical brain. And we can send out a thought, and it's going to trigger all kinds of things in our brain. What are they called? Neurotransmitters. Thank you. Neurotransmitters. So it's an automatic thing. And we know how quickly we think. Can you just imagine what's going on up here every time a thought occurs? It's a natural progression. It's natural law. What we think is setting off the chemicals in our brain. It's setting off what is going to be occurring. Do you know what that means? It means we can't make excuses anymore. It means we did it. We did it. And that can be pretty alarming too. It's not meant to be so intimidating that we get overwhelmed. Quite the contrary. It's meant to empower us. It's meant to help us understand that we can change our life. We can improve our life. Thoughts are things. And another wonderful thing about this is you're never too old. You know, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. Once upon a time, they thought, well, okay, our brain had this many cells, that's it, you use them up, you're done. And we know that's not true. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's not true at all. Well, we can be old dogs. Sometimes we refer to ourselves that way. So we can constantly learn and we can constantly expand our brain. How many of you do that? Ron and I attended this great seminar a while ago, and it was all about positive thought and retraining the brain. And one of the suggestions is to do something different every day. If you're usually right-handed, do something left-handed. Try brushing your teeth. Not if you're in a hurry. But you know, we know that the brain is divided. We know that we have this left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, and that the left hemisphere is all about logic, all about practical, all about business. I'm not getting all the words I want. We know the right brain is creative and intuitive. But you know, people laugh about, oh, I'm all right brain or I'm all left brain. And yet, once again, science is just finding out that, yeah, some people have developed one part of the brain more than the other, but both sides are being used, whatever we're thinking about. They can see this. They can give someone a task while they have them all hooked up to all kinds of contraptions, and they can actually see neurons firing in both sides of the brain. So this means that the more we develop both sides, the more rounded, the more balanced we will be. This doesn't mean that if you develop one side of your brain, you're going to be out there in la-la land and never have any common sense at all, or business sense. And it doesn't mean that if you develop the other side of your brain, you're going to be very strong, very matter-of-fact, and never have compassion or love or spirituality. It's quite the opposite. We can use both and have the best of both worlds. And if you look around in this world and get past all the negative stuff that seems to surface in the news, you will find that many of the very, very successful people in this world, they got that. They found that balance. They may have that brilliant, analytical business mind that made billions of dollars. But they've also used that creative, spiritual part of their brain because they've done something that was going to benefit a lot of people. And they continue to give of their resources to help others learn, in some cases to help others survive. So it behooves us to think about what we're telling ourselves, not only on a daily basis, but hourly basis, minute by minute, and recognize that we are giving ourselves a self-fulfilling prophecy. Goodness, let's make it a good one. Have you noticed, if you get thinking about, gee, I really think I'm going to scrape the money together, and I really am looking about getting a new vehicle. I'm thinking about that a lot, and I'm really thinking about what kind do I want. Now, if you are a spiritualist or a spiritual person, you know thoughts are things. And you know that the more specific you can get, the more you're telling the universe, this is what I want. This is what I want to come to me. This is what I want to bring to me. Have you noticed when you set your mind on that specific thing that you want in life, all of a sudden it's everywhere? Have you noticed that? It seems like, well, it was my idea, and it looks like everybody in the neighborhood has it. Or I'm seeing more and more. If you set your mind that you want a red vehicle, don't you start seeing red vehicles everywhere? Because your brain is thinking about that. That's become important to you. What other things are important to you? Good health, prosperity, love. These are things that we draw to us or push away from us. We do it without even realizing we do it. And that's why I'm talking to you today, so you'll realize what we can do to improve our lives. Spiritualism talks about the law of attraction. And I hope some of the information I've presented to you today will help you think about that a little more. Look around us. I see many familiar faces today. I see some wonderful new faces to me anyway. We are drawn together because like attracts like. We want to be with other positive people. We want to be in a place of love and healing. We want to be in a place of enthusiasm, of supporting one another. And considering we're all still here today, we didn't get swept up last night. Ron asked this morning, he said, according to the news, they've not been able to find this gentleman that was giving that time and date, and he said, I wonder where he is. And I said, maybe he's the only one that was taken. We don't know when things are going to happen in our lives. And I don't mean to make fun of anyone, but none of us know what's coming around the corner, and that may sound funny coming from a medium, but we don't. Life happens. But let's make life positive. We do have choice, and we do have options. And we know we will reap what we have sown. Think about that. When you have a negative thought, and we do, catch yourself. Catch yourself. Start paying attention to how many times you use the word always or never. It's amazing how often those two words are caught up in something that's not as positive as it could be. As soon as you catch yourself doing that, make a conscious effort to change that. You can either say, up until now, I always, or I never could. Up until now. Or find something else positive. Make little cheat cards if you must. Make a list of positive words and look at it during the day. Lots of times if necessary. Train yourself to be positive and then watch the beauty of natural law bring beautiful things into your life. In closing, I'll reference again the Reverend Marilyn Autry's book. And to paraphrase just a little bit, now is the time for you to stop making life difficult for yourself. Now is the moment to allow the natural laws to be your guide. There is no amount of money that can buy what natural law brings us so freely. I hope you have a super day and that every day will be better for you. Thank you.